10 Sinister True Stories of Being Home Alone, Shocking Secrets Revealed in Haunted Isolation. Sarah wiped the sweat from her brow as she stepped into the cool air of her suburban home, the familiar scent of stale coffee and old wood circling around her like a ghost. A chill raced down her spine. It felt like the walls were whispering secrets she wasn't meant to hear. After another grueling night shift at the diner, she just wanted peace. Instead, she was met with the unsettling scratching sounds echoing in the night, each about to unravel her sense of safety like a tightly knit ball of yarn. Shadows danced just beyond her periphery, uninvited and unsettling, and her children, sweet innocent Olivia and Jake, had started talking about their imaginary friend, something that made her head spin. "Mommy, can we play with him again?" they chirped, wide-eyed and filled with glee. The little ones were innocent, but her heart sank. In the fog of exhaustion, she dismissed it. Kids have wild imaginations. But it gnawed at her a persistent itch of paranoia she couldn't scratch. The sun dipped behind the neatly lined homes, darkening her world. Sarah's feet shuffled as she moved through the freshly painted living room, the normalcy almost deceptive. She tucked her timid children into their beds, their laughter dissolving into giggles as they whispered back and forth in the dark. Each giggle felt like a knife twisting in her gut. She could hear their chatter growing louder, an echo of something sinister that lingered just out of sight. Then it hit her, could there really be something hidden in the corners of her home? Each night, as the silence wrapped around her, so did an uncanny aura of dread. It escalated. She heard the scratching more often now, like nails against the wood, desperate for release. She glanced at the window. Every creak felt like something was waiting, watching. And of course, Mr. Holloway, the neighbor, his friendly demeanor turned to a shiver-kindling discomfort. His gaze lingered too long on her, a hunter watching prey. When she smiled politely, it prickled against her skin. One night Sarah mustered the courage to confront him. "You're a good neighbor, Mr. Holloway, but I need space." He smiled back, that smile too wide, too knowing. It sent a wave of shivers through her. "Just looking out for you, Sarah," he said, lacing his fingers together ominously. She hurried back inside, heart racing. The shadows behind her felt hungry. The next day, after another pointless visit to local authorities, laughter erupted from the officer's mouth as he waved her off. She found herself in front of her computer, digging into old town records. What she uncovered tightened her gut. A dark story of a sinister figure lurking in troubled neighborhoods, often taking forms familiar to children like Olivia and Jake. The implications wrapped around her like a vice, squeezing breath from her lungs. Sarah's heart pounded as she heard quiet whispers again, her children calling to their friend, the darkness swirling around the edges of her sanity. Panic gnawed at her flesh, but she held on to the glimmer of determination, a mother's instinct to protect. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that is happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." With trembling hands, Sarah turned to face the growing shadow at her doorstep once more, the air heavy with unsaid words. As she saw Mr. Holloway appear, Olivia's grip tightened around her sleeve. "Mommy, he's not our friend," she whispered, dread pooling in Sarah's stomach. The darkness loomed larger, anticipation crackling in the air. Would she unveil the truth? Hidden in the shadows, or was it too late? Sarah stood frozen, her heart pounding violently against her ribcage. The evening air, thick with tension, hung like a shroud around them. Mr. Holloway's eyes glinted unnaturally, and an eerie smile stretched across his face, revealing teeth that appeared too sharp, too perfect. Sarah felt the pull of dread. It wrapped around her like a barbed wire. "Just out here to check on my favorite neighbors," he cooed, the words sticky sweet like honey laced with poison. As he took a step closer, Olivia's small frame pressed against Sarah's leg, her breath quickening. "Maybe we could play together," Mr. Holloway suggested, bending down to Olivia's level. Wouldn't that be fun? The girl's eyes widened not in excitement, but pure instinctual fear. No, Sarah breathed, clutching Olivia tightly. We're busy. The smile on Holloway's face faltered, just for a second, before returning with a chilling edge. You shouldn't be too busy for friends, my dear, he murmured, his voice dipped in mockery. Before she could react, something slammed against the back of the house. The sound echoed through her bones, a grating noise that settled heavily in her chest. What was that? Jake's voice rang from the darkened hallway. Stay inside, Sarah shouted back, eyes darting toward the rear of the house, a sense of urgency clinging to her words. She dared a glance at Mr. Holloway, now standing unnaturally still, his shadow pooling around him like ink. Something deep within her screamed to retreat. Olivia tugged her sleeve again, panic now evident in her eyes. He is not our friend, Mommy, she repeated, voice quaking. As if on cue, the scratching noise returned, sharper this time, clawing at the walls. It reverberated through the silence, and made Sarah's skin erupt with goosebumps. The universe condensed to this moment. The air crackled as she realized the danger was not just Holloway, it lay beyond him, lurking in the shadows. Let us go inside, Holloway said, standing back up, straightening his jacket as if brushing off dust. We can all be friends. Get away from us, Sarah hissed, pulling her children closer and backing toward the door. But her own mind warred against reason. Was he just a strange neighbor, or was there something deeper? Something sinister? In a flash, the door slammed behind her. It was Jake, trying to lock them out from whatever horrors lay beyond. The sound startled Mr. Holloway, and Sarah seized the moment to drag her children inside. She slammed the door shut, locking it firmly, her heart hammering like a tribal drum in her ears. Mommy, I don't want to play anymore, Jake whimpered, clenching Olivia's hand. Neither do I, Sarah murmured, staring through the small window. Holloway lingered at the door, expression unreadable, shadows obscuring the depths of his face. The scratching sound intensified. It crawled around the baseboards like 1,000 tiny nails scratching their way through. A horrifying thought erupted in Sarah's mind. The comfort of familiarity faded as she frantically scanned the living room for something to defend her children. Leaping shadows flitted just out of sight, a creeping chaos building. It felt like the walls were closing in, as if they were sensing her fear, ready to unleash something sinister. Breaking the silence, Olivia's small voice shattered the air. Mommy, our friend is here. Breath seized in Sarah's throat. The implication gripped her like a vice. The thing in her home wasn't just imaginary, it was awakening. The door rattled, a dull thud against the frame. Holloway's voice slithered through the crack. You're not safe here, Sarah. You've got to let it in before it gets you. As goosebumps prickled her arm, she realized the walls were trembling in response to an ancient, malevolent presence lavishing in their fear. Chaos erupted, a storm brewing within her home, and she knew she had to either confront the unthinkable or risk losing everything. But as the darkness thrummed in her ears, one pressing question remained: was it truly the danger outside she needed to fear, or the darkness feeding off her children's innocent beliefs? Before she could formulate a plan, the windows blurred, shadows pulsated, waiting for the moment to strike. The air turned thick as if the very atmosphere conspired against them. Sarah's breaths quickened, each inhale weighed down by dread. The children's innocent eyes, wide and frightened, pulled her back to their reality. She had to protect them. Mommy, what is happening? Jake shrank against Olivia, their fingers entwined like vines seeking strength in each other. Stay close, I'll keep you safe, Sarah whispered, forcing her voice to be steady, though her heart raced like a wild animal trapped in a cage. She glanced back at the window where Holloway's vague silhouette hung, a grotesque shadow against the twilight. The scratching grew louder. It echoed through the walls. Plaster dust rained down from the ceiling as if the house itself was trying to shake off something terrible. With each scrape, a pulse of darkness beat against the wooden beams, deepening her fear. This was no ordinary disturbance. The very foundation was groaning, responding to something malevolent lurking just out of sight. Mommy, the thing outside, Olivia whispered, choking on her words. It wasn't he just the man at the door. It was something else, something that waited to crawl in. Her fingers shook as she reached for the nearest item, a heavy candle holder. Each heartbeat echoed in her ears, drowning out the scratching sounds that wrapped around her like a noose. Holloway's gaze bore into her through the small window as he called once more, now with almost a sing-song quality. Let me in, Sarah. It's not me you fear. It's what lurks in the dark with you. Something clawed at Sarah's insides, an instinctive warning. She had to act, and fast. In one swift motion she pulled the curtains closed, blocking out Holloway's penetrating gaze. Darkness enveloped the room, thick and suffocating, broken only by the pale flickering of the dying daylight. Mommy, why can't we help him? Jake whimpered again, his faith in the world clashing with her instinct to shield them. No! It's not safe. Sarah's voice sliced through the tension like a knife, but even she could feel the uncertainty creeping back. She had to regain control. Look for something, anything to block the doors and windows. She turned, scanning the room. The old wooden furniture wouldn't hold for long against what awaited outside. Then came a new sound, a scraping coming from above, like something dragging itself across the roof, dragging the evening into despair. Panic bubbled within her. We need to go to the basement. It'll be safer there. Why the basement? Jake cried, fear written across his small face. Because it's away from the windows, it's where we can hide. She pushed away her own fear, forcing strength into her words. Sarah took each of their small hands, pulling them toward the hallway. Each step echoed through the once familiar space, now transformed into a labyrinth of shadows. As they reached the door to the basement, Olivia's grip tightened, but the darkness, it's hiding there. I'll be there with you, Sarah promised fiercely, though her stomach twisted at the thought. The door creaked open, and a rush of cold air whipped past them. There it was, the darkness thick as ink, pulsating as if it had a life of its own. The scratching stopped, replaced instead with a deafening silence that rang in her ears, and within that silence, the heaviness deepened. What lay below? What had they awakened? Her heart raced, pounding a desperate rhythm, urging her to push down the fear that threatened to choke her. She glanced back. Holloway was gone. Just like that, he was no longer there, leaving only silence. Mommy, what's going to happen? Jake's small voice trembled. Feeling the dread gnawing at her mind, Sarah steeled herself. Let us go in, she whispered, and they descended into the belly of the house, where nothing but shadows existed. As they stepped further in, the darkness felt alive, wrapping around them, pulling them deeper. But she could have sworn she felt eyes on her, watching, waiting, as if they were not alone. The door creaked shut with a finality that sent shivers down her spine, leaving only the echo of their rapid breaths. Outside, the wind howled, carrying whispers of what lurked beyond, and behind her, the basement transformed before her eyes not just a refuge, but a prison. What nightmare awaited them now, cloaked in that suffocating darkness? And then, a low growl rumbled somewhere in the shadows, shaking the very air around them. Mommy! I think it's coming, Olivia quivered, dread pooling in her eyes. Sarah faced the darkness, heart hammering against her chest. Was the worst yet to come? The air thickened further, stifling all hope. Shadows seemed to stretch, grasping for the light that danced weakly above them. Sarah felt the children's panicked breaths behind her, their fears pooling around them like a tangible fog. Stay close, she urged, her voice barely rising above a whisper. Each step forward felt like wading through molasses. The wooden stairs creaked ominously beneath their weight, long ago surrendered to the ravages of time. Mommy, what was that growl? Jake's voice cracked, his small body shaking. I don't know. Her heart raced, echoing in the silence that circled them like a predator. She was scared, terrified even. But she couldn't show it. She had to be their fortress. They reached the bottom, and the darkness was a suffocating shroud. She reached out, fingertips brushing against the cold concrete walls, trying to anchor herself within this void. Let us find an exit, she said, hoping her words didn't betray the quiver in her voice. Mommy! Olivia squeaked suddenly, pointing. "What is that?" A shape moved in the shadows, an indistinct figure lurking just beyond the reach of their pitiful flashlight. Sarah squinted, breath caught in her throat. It shifted again, something long and sharp glinting briefly in the beam before disappearing. "Stay back!" She yanked the children closer, but the basement walls pushed against them like a vice. No escape route, nowhere to run. The growl surfaced again, deeper this time, echoing through the stillness. It wasn't just above them anymore, it surrounded them, reverberating off the damp walls. Fear clawed at Sarah's insides, twisting tight. "Mommy, I want to go home," Jake whimpered. "We can't, Jake." "Not yet." She scanned the perimeter of the basement, heart pounding, desperate to find something, anything to defend themselves. Dusty boxes littered the floor. Old tools rusted from years of neglect loomed in the shadows like forgotten sentinels. In one corner, an old metal crowbar gleamed dully. Sarah hurried towards it. She wrapped her fingers tightly around the cold handle, feeling its weight, a tangible reassurance. Returning to the children, she lifted the crowbar in shaky hands. "If it comes for us, I'll protect you," she vowed. But then, as if summoned by her promise, a low growl resonated again, coupled with a heavy footfall that crunched through the debris. It was closer now, the sound sending chills racing down her spine. "Sure," she hissed, pressing a finger against her lips, urging them into silence. The children watched her, wide-eyed and trembling, every inch of them attuned to the unnatural silence. The sound of slithering, slick movement echoed through the darkness. It wasn't just a growl now. It was also a hissing, like something breathing in the murky air. Mommy Olivia let out a small whimper, clutching her brother as they pressed against the wall. "Just breathe, just breathe." But Sarah's mind raced, images of terrifying possibilities surrounding her. Then, the shadows shifted, and her flashlight flickered. Panic struck. No, 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 she shook it, desperately willing the dim beam to hold, but it sputtered once more, illuminating a glimpse of the thing lurking just out of reach. It was humanoid but twisted, limbs stretched unnaturally, skin pale and glistening as if slick with something foul. Its eyes reflected the light, cold, predatory, hungry. "Run! To the stairs!" Sarah cried, heart pounding erratically. But even as the words left her lips, those dark eyes seemed to pierce through the shadows, filling her with an abject horror. Something gripped her shoulder, yanking her back. She screamed, turning to see Jake, eyes wide with fear. "I can't leave! It'll get me!" Terror flooded Sarah's veins. They had to stand, had to fight, but what could they fight? The shadow rushed toward them, and the growls turned into haunting laughter that clawed at her sanity. "Mommy!" Olivia cried, a cry of pure dread. In that moment, as the darkness surged forward, she had only one thought. What had they released? And then, with a flash, the light went out completely, plunging them into the abyss. Outside, the wind continued to howl, and Sarah hoped against hope that dawn would come before the shadows swallowed them whole. But deep down, she wondered, what if it didn't? The darkness swallowed them, a heavy blanket that suffocated all sound but the frantic whispers of her children. Sarah's heart raced in the pitch blackness, pounding like a war drum between her ears. Where was it? What was it? She tried to keep those questions out of her mind as she clutched the crowbar like a lifeline. "Mommy?" Jake whispered, his voice trembling like a leaf in the wind. She could feel his small frame trembling against her, and it took everything in her to stay still, to not let her fear break loose and engulf them all. "Should just hold on tight," she hissed back, her breath quickening. She could feel the chill creeping under her skin and wrapping around her heart, turning her insides to ice. The silence pressed in, the kind that felt alive, waiting, watching. And then it came again, a slither, a scrape against the concrete floor. Sarah's spine went rigid. It was circling them, a predator measuring its prey. Her flashlight had gone dark, leaving them utterly vulnerable. The crowbar felt oddly light in her hands, and she tightened her grip, the only thing standing between her children and whatever horror lurked just beyond their reach. "Mommy, I'm scared," Jake whimpered again, the words piercing through Sarah's resolve. I know, sweetheart. Just stay quiet. She could feel the panic rising like bile. They needed a plan, but the pitch of the basement offered no comfort or escape. The hissing noise intensified, undulating between the walls. It felt almost playful, mocking their fear. Sweat trickled down Sarah's brow, the cold seeped out of the air and mixed with her rising horror. Suddenly, without warning, the air shifted. A new sound emerged, a low, guttural rasp like nails scraping against stone. It was coming nearer, and with it, the musky scent of decay slammed into her nostrils, making her gag. Mommy Olivia's voice had lost its strength, becoming a whisper of dread. Sarah instinctively crouched, spreading her arms protectively around her children, a feeble barricade against impending doom. Then she heard a soft chuckle that crawled into her mind, slithering through her thoughts. It echoed, cruel and twisted, leaving no doubt that whatever this thing was, it thrived on their fear. Stay here. Sarah's voice was barely a breath, but she knew what had to happen. They had to find a way out of the basement. She could almost visualize the stairs, their only chance at salvation. I'll go. The sound of broken glass shattered in the distant shadows, and she froze, panic gripping her. The thing was looking for them, and she felt its intent, dark, unyielding. Her instincts screamed to move, to run. Rising, she tugged at Jake's trembling hand, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm as she took a step towards the stairs, feeling Olivia's little fingers gripping her shirt. A furious growl erupted, so close now, reverberating through the hollow space like a death knell. Go! She shouted, pushing Jake ahead of her, forcing her feet to move. But it was too late. The shadows surged, and the horror that had watched them, waited patiently, lunged into the light just as they reached the stairs. Its elongated arms swept towards them, fingers like wicked claws gleaming in the dim light that flickered back to life. Run! Sarah screamed, shoving the kids toward the staircase. But in a heartbeat, the creature blocked their escape, its grotesque features contorting into a rictus of delight. And suddenly she understood. The basement had held more than just the weight of years. It housed a malevolent force waiting for a moment to break free. With a surge of adrenaline, Sarah swung the crowbar, aiming it with all her strength as she yelled, "Get out! I'll hold it!" But just as her swing connected, darkness closed around her, cutting off her scream as the creature turned, smiling cruelly at the desperation in her eyes. "Mommy!" Jake cried as they stumbled back, eyes wide with horror. As the creature wailed, Sarah felt the basement shift beneath her feet, and the walls began to ripple, contorting as if the entire space were alive, threatening to consume them whole, while the children trembled in her shadow. What had awakened? What other horrors lurked beyond the shadows? The last thing Sarah saw was the grinning face of terror, and then the world faded into the depths of despair. Somewhere, she could hear the children still calling, echoing, fading. And she wondered, as the darkness claimed her, if anyone would ever find them. What other artifice had they unleashed in that basement? What would it claim next? Dust motes swirled in the flickering light as the basement settled into an uncomfortable silence. Olivia clutched Jake's hand tightly, their wide eyes darting around, scanning for the horror that had just moments ago adorned their worst nightmares. But the space felt different now, colder, almost alive, breathing along with them. "Where's Mommy?" Jake's voice broke the hushed stillness, fear wrapping around each syllable like a snake. "I don't know," Olivia whispered back, swallowing hard. The whisper echoed louder than the pounding of her heart. They were alone, perhaps for the first time, without their mother's protection. She wanted to call out for Sarah, but what if it heard? What if it came back? The shadows clung to the corners, shifting subtly, teasing their minds. "We need to find a way out," Olivia urged, taking a hesitant step forward. "Mommy told us to run. Maybe we can go up the stairs." Heart racing, Jake nodded, still too terrified to vocalize anything but the softest whimpers. They moved together, a silent pact against the unknown. The chill that seeped through the concrete walls gripped their skin, turning breath into vapor. They inched their way toward the staircase, feeling the weight of the creature's absence like a press against their backs. But as they approached the stairs, the growl returned, sharper, more eager. It rolled through the air, a low, vibrating warning that coiled around them, stealing their warmth and smothering their resolve. The frantic need to escape collided with the paralyzing fear of the unknown, and they both froze, hearts pounding a disjointed rhythm. With heavy breaths, Olivia turned to Jake. "We have to try. We can't stay here." Another growl, another scrape. The sound was closer. She squeezed Jake's hand again, and they darted toward the stairs together, more instinct than thought. They reached the first step, fingers brushing against the cold, slimy railing. Then came the rush of footsteps, heavy, dragging. They resonated in the silence like thunder. "Go!" Olivia shouted, shoving Jake up the stairs as she felt the soul-chilling air whip past her. She climbed after him, the creaking wood echoing beneath their weight. At the top, they collided against the door. It stood firm, locked tight. Desperation clawed at their throats, and Olivia hammered against the wood. "Mommy! Please!" she cried, tears stinging her eyes. The growling intensified, shifting into a cacophony of whispers that filled the air, overlapping and entwined, like a dark chorus converging on them. "Let us," and they taunted, an icy breath against Olivia's neck that forced her to turn, tracing the shadows that danced behind her. "Jake, push!" she yelled, knowing they needed to escape. They slammed against the door together, bodies colliding with wood as splinters dug into their palms, but it didn't budge. The whispers grew louder, their striking notes curling around her mind, squeezing her heart until it felt like it might burst. And amidst the panic, she caught a glimpse of something, eyes shining like silver dollars in the dark. They blinked at her, long and languid. She could feel them examine her, deep within that predatory gaze. She felt her breath hitch, caught in a web of pure terror. Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled. A creaking roar echoed as the basement, alive with malice, began to morph, walls bending like waves around them. "Jake! We have to!" But then the floor buckled and cracked, a fissure unfurling like a giant's maw, darkness spilling forth, swallowing the stairs whole. An unbearable weight descended upon them, pushing them back from the jagged edge that threatened to consume them. Olivia grabbed Jake, pulling him back, but it was too late. The creature's growl erupted, blending seamlessly into a shriek as it lunged toward them from the shadows, maw wide and glistening, eager for its next meal. As the last echoes of their shrieks faded into the void, a quiet stillness returned. The door creaked ominously behind them, shifting ever so slightly, as if the basement anticipated their fate. What lurked in the corners of that darkness? What would it do now that it had claimed another soul? And were the children truly free, or was this just the beginning of something far more sinister? The air was thick with dread, a tangible fear that pressed down as Olivia and Jake staggered backward, hearts pounding in unison. The darkness shifted, morphing, almost alive as it seemed to recoil from them. The door still stood, a sentinel against whatever horror waited just beyond. Olivia Jake's voice trembled, small and fragile. She turned to look at him, her features pale and ghost-like in the dim light. "It's okay. We're fine," she lied, hoping the words would shield them. But even as she spoke, shadows curled and twisted, wrapping around their feet like angry serpents. Another rumble echoed through the basement, far deeper this time. The walls shook, debris raining down like confetti at a morbid celebration. They stumbled, covering their heads, but each thud of their hearts matched the rhythm of the growl that remained relentlessly close. "Do you think it can get in here?" he whispered, the quiver in his voice betraying his attempt at bravery. "I don't know," Olivia replied, fighting to keep her voice steady. "But if we don't get out, it won't matter." She grabbed Jake's hand once more, squeezing it tightly as the whispers began again, these new voices weaving in and out among the growls as if orchestrating the chaos. "Join us, surrender," they beckoned, a chilling invitation that sent shivers racing down her spine. "Let us try the door again," Jake urged, his face a mask of desperation. They mixed dread with resolve, launching themselves at the stubborn door once more. Olivia threw herself against the wooden barrier, her shoulder slamming against it hard enough to rattle her bones. The door shook but held fast, mocking their futile attempts to escape. Suddenly, with a sharp crack, the wood splintered, sending an icy gust rushing past them. A frantic glance exchanged between the siblings, and then Jake was crying out, "Look!" A pale light flickered at the edges of the fissure that now opened before them, drawing them like moths to a flame. It beckoned with promises of safety, a way out. But that light was cold and unnatural, pulsating in time with their increasing terror. "Jake, don't!" Olivia gasped, instinctively pulling him back as he seemed ready to lunge for that treacherous glow. "We can't go toward it. It might be a trap." But the darkness around them pulsed angrily. The growl intensified, vibrating through the walls as the creature surged forward, drawn to the scent of their fear. "Open, open, join us!" The whispers twisted around them, creating a dissonance that overwhelmed reason. Jake's eyes widened, they were glazing over. "I want to go, Olivia. I want to see." "No!" Olivia screamed, tugging him back with every ounce of her strength. In that moment, the world felt like it was stretching, spinning, and their surroundings blurred into a jumbled mess of light and shadow. The darkness pulsed again, overwhelming. Each breath pulled in more dread than air. The voices coiled tighter around her heart, threatening to crush it under the weight of their sinister serenade. Then, from the depths of a shadow, a new presence emerged. It was smaller, shivering. She detected a faint shape, a ghostly silhouette that flickered in and out of existence. "Children," it whispered, its tones sweet yet chilling. "Children lost, who are you?" Olivia stammered, a tremor betraying her fear. "Help us," it pleaded, extending ghostly hands toward them. "We are trapped, just like you." In that moment, Olivia felt torn. Should she trust this specter? Or was it yet another trick of the sinister force that held them? The walls trembled once more, the darkness closing in around them while the child's fears spilled over like a rain-soaked basement. She had to decide, and she had to decide now. The creature could be waiting, hungry, hidden in the folds of darkness. "What do we do, Jake?" she whispered, panic spiraling. But Jake remained still, entranced by the flickering figure, his breath shallow as they teetered on the brink of both hope and despair. Would they step forward toward the spectral plea, or remain hidden away in the dark? The choice loomed like the depths below. What awaits them on the other side? What if trusting the unknown turns out to be the greatest mistake of their lives? Jake's eyes were locked on the figure, his face a mix of wonder and sorrow. He seemed to lose himself in its gaze, as if caught in a trance that tethered him to the very edge of oblivion. Olivia felt the ground beneath her tremble, each thud echoing the desperate beat of her heart. "Jake, please, it's not safe. We can't trust it," she urged, but her voice was drowned out by the chorus of whispers rising all around them. Help us, lost forever!" The spectral voice wrapped around them, curling into their ears like icy tendrils, each word a plea soaked in desperation. In that moment, the room felt alive, the shadows wiggling and writhing as if impatient at their indecision. Olivia could sense it, the hunger of something lurking, unseen yet very near. A surge of urgency pushed her forward. "Jake, snap out of it!" She shook her brother's shoulders, hoping to break the spell that had him so dazed. With a shudder, his gaze flickered back to her, confusion battling with the allure of the apparition. "Olivia, I just want to help." "No. No!" she shouted, the weight of fear building in her chest. "We will not help whatever that is. It wants to pull us in. We need to get out of here." The whispering grew louder, more frantic. "Join us in the light, it's safe." The flickering shapes seemed to sway with the voice, drawing Jake closer and closer. "Jake!" Olivia could feel the palpable tensions of time sitting heavy upon them. The air grew colder, the shadows deeper, swallowing up the small beams of light spilling through the cracks. Her heart raced, tossing in her chest like a wild beast trying to escape its cage. She tore her gaze from the haunting figure, glancing around the basement for anything they could use. Was there a way to break this enchantment? A weapon against whatever dark magic was at play? Her breath quickened as she searched the damp, grimy walls. Meanwhile, the pale figure extended a ghostly hand, fingers trembling with a beckoning tremor. Jake took a half step forward, the hunger in his expression unmistakable. "Don't, please!" Olivia shrieked, a sharp edge slicing through the suffocating chaos. Her voice broke through the shadows for a split second, but his feet seemed rooted to the spot. Then, a louder growl erupted from the deeper shadows, shaking the ground and sending vibrations through her bones. A monstrous presence roiled within the blackness, impatient, eager. An unwelcome reminder that their time was fast slipping away. In a moment of clarity, Olivia dashed forward, her hand grasping for a long, rusty pipe jutting from the concrete floor. It rang hollow as she pulled it away, her body instinctively poised for defense. She turned back toward Jake, heart racing with dread. "We need to go. Now." But just as she was about to lunge for her brother, the haunting voice rose in a pitch that sent chills racing up her spine. "Join us." The words crashed over her like waves, infused with a sinister urgency, drowning out her thoughts. "Embrace the light." Olivia's grip tightened on the pipe, her breath coming fast and uneven. "Jake, please. Fight it!" she screamed. He shuddered, his expression flickering between awareness and that entranced longing. "Olivia, I just want to see." The entity behind them stirred again, and an enraged roar reverberated through the basement, shaking the walls. The reality around them twisted, the light warping into a cyclone of wretched fantasies. "Jake!" she cried again, desperate. "We're in danger! Can't you see it?" But as the shadows slithered closer, she understood the truth. There would be no safe answer here. Suddenly, as the whispers escalated, Jake took a single step towards the light. "No!" The cry escaped her lips in a primal scream. Olivia swung the pipe, aiming for the apparition, desperation fueling her movements. But just as the pipe connected, an immediate hollow thud resonated, and the world morphed. The spectral figure laughed dark and haunting as the shadows thickened, ready to consume them both. Caught in a vortex of light and dark, together they teetered on the brink of an endless plunge. What would they find if they fell in? Was there still hope, or was this the moment when all light faded? The world shifted violently, colors swirling in an unwanted dance of chaos. Olivia felt herself yanked back, the rusty pipe slipping from her fingers as the ground trembled beneath her. The echoes of Jake's uncertain breath filled the void, mingling with the chilling laughter of the phantom figure. "Jake!" It was a mere whisper now, her voice barely a flicker in the unforgiving storm. She struggled, but her feet felt glued, stuck in the mire of shadow and despair. The room shifted again, walls pulsing, the air thickening. No longer was it just a basement, it transformed into a labyrinth of emotions, amplifying terror, drowning hope. She took a step forward, fighting against an unseen force that tugged at her soul. "Please!" she begged, reaching out for Jake. And then she saw at a glimpse. The lurking horror, dark and formless, coiling like smoke, taking shape behind the luminous figure. It was an evil manifestation, clawing from the design of their deepest fears. "Help us!" The voice sank through her thoughts again, now wrapped in a suffocating intimacy that made her skin crawl. Olivia turned her head, squinting against the darkness. Shadows twisted around her brother, coiling tighter, and with every moment, Jake seemed to drift farther away. "It's pulling you in." Jake's demeanor changed. His face slackened in contemplation, and Olivia could see something. Was it hope? Or was it something darker? "Olivia," he murmured, the last vestige of his defiance waning. "No! Fight it!" she screamed, fighting the rising panic. But he was slipping, sinking, vanishing into that gaze of insatiable hunger. "Come to the light, Jake. We'll find a way out together." But the shadows were relentless, whispering his name like a maddened chant, rising in volume and swirling like a tempest. With each heartbeat, the crush of fear mounted. "Stay with me!" she yelled, focusing all her energy toward him. She could feel the edges of her sanity fray in the silence, every inhale like shards of glass in her throat. A tremor ran through the basement, a carpet of dread unfurling as if the very ground beneath them were alive. Olivia raised her hands, shaking with urgency, and called through the cacophony, "You're stronger than this." For a fleeting moment, she saw doubt flicker across Jake's features. He started, but the words got lost, swallowed by the encroaching darkness. Sensing she was losing him, Olivia lunged forward, grasping for anything tangible. She found a sharp shard of glass on the ground, grasping it with both hands, brandishing it like a lifeline. Her heart pounded in her ears. She had to save him, had to pull him back. The air grew dense with a palpable weight, and she could almost feel the predatory eyes watching, waiting for the moment to spring. "Jake! Please, remember us. Remember our home." Tears burned hot against her cheeks as memories surged, sunlit days, laughter, the warmth of family. "We won't lose each other. Not now." The entity writhed with fury, shadows flickering angrily against the walls. "You will regret this," it hissed, cold like winter's breath. "Back! Get away from him!" Olivia screamed, wielding the glass shard with trembling resolve. Her world narrowed to just Jake and that shape, the pulsing energy of darkness dancing in anticipation. But as she lunged forward, determined, a shudder rippled through the ground. The apparitional figure dissolved into a smirk of malevolence, eyes glinting with malicious satisfaction. "We are coming for you too," and before she could react, a bone-chilling scream erupted not from the shadows, but from Jake. The very sound seemed to scrape against her soul, a final plea laced with agony as the boundaries of reality began fracturing. "Jake!" Olivia cried, hurtling herself into the fray as the floor cracked wide beneath them, revealing a shadowy abyss that echoed with malefic laughter. In that split second, as everything around them collapsed, she made her choice. Would she succumb to the beckoning darkness, or was there a shred of light, somewhere hidden, that could guide them through the nightmare? But just as the void began to swallow them whole, something unexpected snapped. A flicker of warmth washed over her, forcing open her eyes to a glimpse of dawn on the horizon. Was it truly dawn? Or a trick of the devil, luring her in? That flicker might take them somewhere, away from despair or into a nightmarish fate far worse than she could ever imagine. Olivia felt the chill of despair wrap around her like a vice as the torn space between shadow and light twisted further. She could feel the echoes of Jake's horror reverberating in her bones, each pulse of fear feeding the darkness creeping closer. It was almost as if the basement itself had sensed her determination, flexing its grip, eager to claim its next victim. "Jake!" She screamed again, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Fight! Come back to me!" But as the darkness surged, she could see a shadow creeping over him, snaring him in its clutches. "I can't, I don't want to." His voice came like a whisper through the oppressive, suffocating air, a sound that pricked at her resolve. No. She couldn't let him falter now. Instead, Olivia clutched the shard of glass tighter, feeling the sharpness bite into her palm, but it grounded her, reminded her she was still here, still fighting. "Jake! You're stronger than this. You're my brother!" she shouted, the words spilling over with the power of their shared childhood, of family, of every moment they had spent together, every laugh, every dare. The shadow loomed larger, a palpable darkness that threatened to consume everything they were. But then it paused, hesitating at the sound of her voice. Olivia took a step forward, wading through the freezing grip of despair, her heart racing like it could burst free. "Remember the treehouse? The summer days we spent playing hide and seek? No shadow can take that from us," she cried. The faintest flicker of recognition passed across Jake's face, a moment where fear mixed with longing. "Olivia," he whispered, voice breaking. "I remember. I want to go home, yes. Hold on to that. That's our light," Olivia urged, tears streaming down her cheeks, bright as daylight compared to the lurking horror surrounding them. She took another step, feeling the shadows recoil ever so slightly. "Fight it with me, Jake. We can do this together." As she held tightly onto their shared memories, the very air around them crackled. The shadows hissed, twisting wildly as Olivia pressed forward, her heart heavy with hope, not just for herself, but for Jake too. "I believe in you!" she shouted, her voice soaring over the growl of darkness. And then, something shifted. The malevolent presence lunged, a snarl echoing unnaturally, but this time, Olivia stood firm, refusing to let anything take Jake, her brother, away from her. Jake's eyes cleared, he broke free from the fog of confusion, his gaze locking onto her, burning with intensity. Olivia! He grasped her hand, and in that moment she felt their bond, stronger than the void attempting to pull them apart. The growl of the creature stuttered. Suddenly it was not just shadows coiling but fear itself that writhed, losing its grip. You can't escape! It roared, but it was fighting with its back against the wall. Yes, we can! Together they moved, propelled by a force greater than mere survival, a force born of love and belonging. Hand in hand, heart to heart, they defied the abyss threatening to swallow them whole. As they surged toward that beckoning light, the shadows recoiled, the tightness in the air loosened, a violent wind tearing through the basement. They forced their way forward, Jake breathing deep, energy surging through him as he matched her steps, conviction igniting his spirit. With each stride, the darkness shivered, whispering curses and threats, but Olivia stood unwavering, determination swelling inside her chest until it burned. Closer and closer they came to the fissure of light, their destination shimmering brighter, promising safety and warmth. At that last moment, the creature, a twisted manifestation of all their fears, lashed out, grasping wildly. But they were too fast, too strong, their hearts synchronized in pure defiance. Yes! Olivia yelled, feeling the tug of the light envelop them, fierce and warm, washing away the despair. With one combined leap, they burst into the light, a wave of electricity racing through them. The shadows shrieked in agony, swallowed whole as the children surged into a world of brightness, laughter, and safety. They landed outside on the front lawn of their home, where the sun kissed their faces and the chill of the darkness receded. Suddenly they were free, the whispers silenced, the growl a distant memory lost to the dawn. Jake! Olivia exclaimed, her heart swelling with relief. We did it! We're home! Jake's face radiated with joy and disbelief. You're right, we made it. As they embraced tightly, relief crashed over them like a tidal wave, turning the shadows into mere echoes of their darkest fears. With a deep breath, she knew their bond had been tested, but it emerged stronger, unfaltering against the darkest void. Behind them, the basement stood still for now. But they would not look back. Together they walked toward the warmth, embracing the dawn of a brand new day, hand in hand. Their laughter filled the air, a bridge over those dark moments, echoing defiantly against the remnants of what once lurked in the shadows. And that was how they would remember, two brave children, united not just by blood, but by an unbreakable bond forged in light, defiant against fear, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. Now, if you made it this far, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. What do you think awaits our brave duo now? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Trust me, only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.